Ma'am, can you speak closer to the microphone
Yes.
so we can hear you?
And I'm sure it is no surprise to any of you who know what happened last week that I'm standing in front of you today. My phone was blowing up last week regarding the incident in Sanger High School. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, that can be said and should be, but my time is limited. I'm going to talk about the culture Sanger Unified has created. What does it say, not only about the student who recorded it, but the students who shared it and the district's response to in all of this. Stop and think for a moment if this were your underage child. In a video, ask yourself how you would feel about it, being shared without any true consequences. We all know the situation would have been handled completely differently had this been a non-disabled students. School districts have created a culture that segregates disabled students from the rest of the world. Only when we start educating students together can we change the stigma, the misconceptions, break down walls, and stop ableism. If you don't know what ableism is, look it up. You need to know what it is. Practicing inclusive education enhances the ability of non-disabled students to cooperate, work together, understand, and value different perspectives, and think critically. This all starts at the top of administrators making inclusion a priority, which we do not do in this district. When administrators model inclusivity and support teachers in its implementation, the entire school and the school system culture changes. We need to change our culture. If that wasn't evident last week, I can't even make it any more clear to you all. And maybe, just maybe, what happened last week in that incident could be avoided and could help disabled students down the road, obviously.
My disappointment in our school district. I have sat through countless school board meetings listening to our district administration say that students and staff are a priority. I listened to our district administration talk about the safety measures and guidelines we are following when it comes to COVID-19. I've also heard our district admin say how they respect and appreciate the work that our staff is doing during this difficult time. I'd like to take the opportunity to fill you in on the reality of what is happening at our school sites. I begin with the district administration's decision to stop our programs for music. Could someone please explain to me how taking away part of our curriculum from our students is in their best interest? How is taking away a vital creative outlet for our students doing what is best for our kids? You say that the music staff is needed because the district doesn't have enough bodies to cover classrooms. But yet in front of me, I count 1, 2, 3 district administrators, minus Mrs. Jones, because someone needs to run the district, in addition to the district admin sitting behind me, who are perfectly capable of covering the classroom if needed. But instead, we would rather take away from kids to keep our classrooms running. Next, let's talk about our district COVID protocols. Do you know that all staff members are required to self-certify on a daily basis? In addition to self-certifying, if you answer yes to one of the 2 questions you are told to immediately contact your supervisor to be inputted into the system. And lastly, according to the district, did you know that district procedures take up to 48 hours before staff members hear any response from the district? The reason I ask you these questions is because in the last 11 days, I know of at least 6 employees who heard nothing back from the district after saying yes to self-certifying, contacting their supervisor. Oh, and I'd like to mention that 3 of the staff members are perfectly capable of working, but because our district has no plan in place on what to do with unvaccinated healthy staff members, they sit at home waiting for a phone call, an email, anything to know what is going to happen next, and wanting to work, all while using their sick days because the district administration wasn't willing to negotiate reasonably or just extend the COVID leave that the state had provided. Most people on this board and district administration always want to question if I'm stating facts. And I'm here to tell you and the community it's true. And I know because I'm one of those 6 staff members. My daughter tested positive for COVID last Wednesday. My supervisor has known since last Wednesday. I have self-certified every day, including today, and no one has reached out to me from the district. This leads me into the weekly required testing of unvaccinated employees. Did you know that it takes up to 3 days for staff members to get results back? Meanwhile, we have had staff members comply with their weekly testing, become symptomatic while at work, tell their supervisor they don't feel good, and their supervisor tell them to wear a mask and stick it out. Meanwhile, 3 days later, they get their test results and become positive. So I ask you, are we keeping staff and students safe by keeping sick people at work? It's no wonder the school district has had to shut down over 5 elementary classrooms in the last 11 days. I know my time is up, so I'll be back. Thank you.
As the Visual Performing Arts Coordinator for St. Unified, I just wanted to take a minute to say that I'm really just going to say thank you. We, as the music team, we don't know a lot about contract law or labor law, and we're very grateful for union representation that does, and that will help support us and ensure that our rights are being observed in this process. But I also want to thank our district leadership because they have been really careful to listen to our concerns and to try to immediately address them wherever possible, and they really worked hard to try to support us in this effort. So I have every confidence that we're going to be able to work through this together and resolve this as quickly as possible and get us back to doing what we do best, which is teaching music and, giving our kids that social and emotional outlet that they so desperately need right now. So, we'll do what we need to do. I know that we have support on all sides, and we'll get back to doing what we do best. Thank you.
And we will play one composition.
I'm a junior who's attending Senior High School, and tonight I'm here to basically talk about my feelings towards the Senior District. Tonight, I'm here on behalf of the Senior District students to say that we are here to stand for the ones who do not, the ones who are sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, and or raped. I can say that the Senior District students will not tolerate it anymore. We see these harmful things happening to our peers and friends, yet nothing is being done. I've never seen seniors take any legal action in situations like this. I understand that when an ongoing investigation is occurring, schools are obligated to stay quiet. But us students and parents were left in the dark, with not even a little bit of information. It took the district almost a week to come up with a simple letter alerting us about a problem that has been going on for a while now. It is upsetting about how senior handles these situations. Parents and students are enraged. So enraged, we had to take matters into our own hands. You say to let admin handle it, but based on what I'm seeing, students and parents are the only ones who are handling it. Throughout my years of attending sacred schools, I can see how the schools handle things like this. And honestly, it disgusts me. There have been countless unresolved cases from the past before I became a freshman at senior high, which clearly shows the very tedious and insignificant amount of attention that senior gives to their students in situations like this. There may even be issues that were kept quiet in fear that we, us students, could react this way. It does not take much to stand up for your students, Senior. As I walk around campus, I can see that there are students who feel unsafe. And as I do, my heart aches for the ones who have been affected and hurt while on campus. Singer, you offer us love and safety, but as I stand here, I can feel none of that. Instead, many like myself try to revolve around a peaceful environment in an attempt to get away from this positive facade we make our schools out to be. Enough with covering up the tracks. We see your failed attempts, and it brings much resentment and despise to this generation of youth. I come to you guys in the most peaceful way possible, but I cannot speak solely from peace, but also from fear and frustration. When it comes to situations like this, Sanger turns a blind eye. Things in exchange for the better. Students are feeling unsafe, and students are getting hurt. I can say that Sanger's reaction towards these issues have disappointed me. These victims deserve justice and protection. We, students and parents, demand the justice now. For the safety of our community, students, parents, and future generations hold accountability. My only advice to you guys is to do better, Sanger. Thank you.
Unified School District board members. Are any of you born and raised here in Central? You are? Then you will. There you go. Okay. Good deal. My name is Robert Cotner, and I was born in this town in 1954. My father was a businessman on 7th Street at Roy's Barber Shop. Okay? Do you have to live in this town to be on your board? Are you all living in this town? I'm just asking, just raise a hand. You guys all live here. I know you do, Tammy. You know me from Cedarville. Okay. Well, my name's Robert Cocker. I was born here. My father and mother was a superstroller here. I was a truck driver for 41 years for 4 million miles on my rear. Okay? We busted our butt in this community. But I'm sitting here right now. My name is Robert Cocker, and I'm here to take one-year jobs. I'm running for a board member. I do not believe in CRT, and I do not believe in vaccinating our kids with stuff that is legally not approved. Remember my name. I'm here.
Good evening, Sanger Unified staff, parents, and maybe students. My name is Isabella Vega. I'm 17 years of age, and I'm unfortunately a senior at Sanger High School. I was so proud of our schools for as long as I can remember. I came from Jackson, I went to Lambs, now I'm here. I'm not sure why I was so happy with the way things were, but I think it was because I was too naive to see the ugly truth about Standard Unified. You guys seem not to care about your students, staff members, or the community in general. Students and teachers are constantly testing positive for COVID-19, and they're expected to return in a short amount of time, regardless of a negative test result. I was being one of them during this school year. Next one. I wouldn't have even gotten COVID in the first place if Sanger High School would have actually mandated the rules that they should have in the first place by the CDC. I, along with plenty of my other friends, can name at least 3 teachers that don't enforce mask rules on their students, nor wear masks themselves. How do you expect to be a good role model if you can't follow simple rules? I am a student who is in the education pathway. I've been since freshman year. Amazing pathway, by the way. And I just recently started doing observations at Lincoln Elementary School, and my second grade classroom that I observed, my bad, they all wear masks, including teachers. So if some 8-year-olds can be compliant, why can't staff members? It is so beyond selfish that they don't even want to wear a mask. I mean, I understand some may not agree with everything that's going on. However, I feel like you should follow the rules in order to keep everybody safe, because this not only affects students, it affects their families. And the last thing anybody wants is to catch COVID and lose a loved one. Speaking of keeping people safe, as all of you know, there was an incident at school involving sexual assault. Now, I understand you are not legally allowed to share case details because of both parties involved are minors. However, you need to do a better job of asserting that we are safe. Based on what many students, past and present, have spoken recently about, whether it was to me, in the comments of a Sanger Scene post, or on social media in general, sexual assault has constantly occurred at Sanger High School, and it seemed to be brushed under the rug. And it absolutely disgusts me that I even have to come to school and think about, am I sitting next to a rapist in class? No one should ever have to think about that, and it fears, like I'm literally in fear to go to school, because people don't, it's not working, it's not working. Whatever you guys are doing, sending these letters out, posting these things, it's not making us feel safe. There is supposed to be mandatory name and classroom checks in the bathrooms. I only saw that happening from maybe first to third period today, and once that was done, like, they didn't enforce it. So I don't understand how we expect change, yet the staff members don't want to follow the rules. And I think it's pathetic. So I know I'm out of time, but like one of our other speakers today, you guys will see me again.
Hi, Andrea Mulhouse. I have 2 kids in the Sanger School District. My questions are for you guys, administrators. Why did staff receive a notice of updated COVID guidelines on January 7th, but it wasn't until January 21st that the updates were posted on our website? Nothing, to my knowledge, came out on Remind. I didn't receive a Remind notification. Parents I talked to didn't receive a Remind notification. Just the website was updated, and whoever chooses to go look at it can see it. We need to be notified that updates have been made. You have this set up to give us notifications, use it. I didn't hear from the principal from either high school. I didn't hear from the principal from WAMS. We should have received something. Why was I notified that my child was exposed on a day that she wasn't even at school? Now, I had to press. I had to ask questions with the nurse, what are you talking about? She wasn't at school. What day was the exposure? And it turns out it was the day she wasn't even at school. So, had I not asked questions, and I guarantee you there are parents out there that are afraid to ask questions or don't know what questions to ask, my child would have been quarantined for no reason, missing school. Unacceptable. Why are students and staff sitting at home with no instructions on when to come back? Unacceptable. And I'm hearing it from numerous people. I'm talking to teachers, and I'm talking to parents, and this is the feedback that I'm getting. Unacceptable. The answer is simple. You guys have bitten off way more than you can chew. I appreciate everything you're doing, but you're not doing a good job of it. You guys can't keep up with the magnitude of what we are dealing with. And yes, the teachers and our children are suffering from it. They really are. It's time to remove these ridiculous guidelines and let our schools return to normal operations. And I'm not sure if you're aware, just last night, Kingsburg District just passed a resolution yesterday calling all state officials to recommend and not require the COVID-19 vaccine for students and staff. The proposed regulation and mandating students and staff vaccination requirements will have a devastating effect, making staff and enrollment requirements even more challenging as they are today. So I think we're already having a difficult time with staff. Imagine once this mandate is in place. I can't even imagine. So I ask for you to do better. Please do better for our children. How much time do I have? All right, I will be back.
Hi, my name is Cindy Harris. My kids all went K through 12 in Sanger and all have college degrees. So I said they're doing a good job, and so did you guys. Which I have no beef with any of that. But just let me get this straight. If these mandates continue and get worse, for my 5-year-old grandson, sorry, I'm getting emotional. They are taking away our medical freedom to force us to get a shot. It's not a vaccine because it doesn't provide immunity or prevent transmission. We all know that now, okay? And it has killed more people than all the vaccines in the last 30 years. This is fact. CDC, VAERS, they say, oh, it's not accurate. Well, it's your system. So yeah, it's not accurate. It's way more people than that this vaccine has killed in the For a disease that has a 99% survival rate. Take off your masks. They do no good. They don't work. My grandson, I was kind of hoping that my grandson would not be as sick this year when school started. Because as soon as school starts, he gets colds, right? I thought, well, that might be a good thing. He's wearing a mask. Maybe he won't get sick. First week, a cold. Second week, a cold. He's had nonstop colds. They don't work. They filter out this particle size of 3 microns. The virus is 1 micron. Goes straight through. The other 18% go around and in it. They don't work. We are maiming our children by making them muzzle. My grandson is upset every day about it, and I tell him to speak his truth. Go tell his teacher, tell his friends, tell their parents. He's 5.5 years old, and I'm putting this on him. Because somebody has to. Somebody has to speak up for our kids. This has nothing to do with safety. This is all about money. And until we stop conforming to it, we will be slaves to it. And I know how much money you guys get, by the way. The ESSER 3 funds, and you have to give it back if you stop complying. So we're on to it. Fresno, I don't know what the dollar amount is here, but Fresno, I spoke at their board meeting, $10,500 per student you're getting to enforce these mandates and these restrictions. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Harris. I'm an alumni of Sanger High from 1980. But yeah, like Cindy said, our 3 kids all went through Sanger High. They started kindergarten, went all through the whole school district, Fairmont. Now my grandson's at Fairmont. He looked as his principal at one time. And have nothing but great things to say. All my kids turned out great, very proud of them. But the mask mandate and vaccine mandate, it's really, we're going on 2 years on this 2 weeks to stop the spread. And it's just getting out of control. I was looking around at everybody's masks. I think there's 2 people in here that have N95 masks. And like Cindy just mentioned, the masks that everybody's wearing, they're not doing any good. Everybody's going to get this Omicron variant, and so you're going to get natural immunity one way or the other. So why don't we just eliminate the masks? Because it just can't be great for our kids. How can you can't even see facial smiling, or it just infuriates me with my grandson the way he's having to go to school now. it's just not the way kids are meant to go to school, all masked up and never seeing anybody's face when they're smiling or sad or whatever. Yeah, I'm just, I just feel like we got to end it. I know that you guys get a lot of money for it, but at what price are we paying for that additional money that we get to use for our schools? It's just, we're putting all that money on our kids, and it's just not right. So I just plead with you just to try to, put it yourself, that let's try to end this thing, and stand up like Kingsburg did, or, let's be leaders, not followers. We can say, hey, let's try to end this. Let's get in front of this thing and say no. No more mandates, no more vaccines, no more masks. So, thank you.
My name is Jocelyn Harper. I graduated from Sanger High School in 2006. Both of my brothers went to Fairmont and graduated from Sanger High. And I am proud to say that my son attends Jackson. We are a Sanger family. Having said that, there are 2 5th grade classes here at Jackson. One had an outbreak. My son's class had no exposures or positive tests all year. Vaccinated students from the first class were moved without our knowledge to my son's with no quarantine and no COVID test required. These kids not only tested positive, but are now sick. I was told by the nurse the school district's policy on vaccinated students is that they are not required to quarantine or test to return to school. The district's policy exposed my son and all of his classmates regardless of their vaccination status. My son quarantined, tested negative, and returned to school. 5 kids were already in class and had not been required to test or quarantine prior to him returning. I asked the teacher to not sit him next to those children because I was worried he would have another exposure and be required to quarantine yet again. The definition of discrimination is the practice of unfairly treating a person or group of people differently from others. You are discriminating our students based on their medical status for financial gain, such as the ESSR 3 funds and the CARES Act funds. My son is an honor roll student, basketball player, and a member of his school's cleanup club, where on his lunch break, he actively goes around the school and picks up trash and helps maintain the facility. He asked me on his first day of quarantine, why don't they want me at school? Shame on you. Shame on you for a student that dedicated not only to himself, his education, his community, and his school to feel not wanted. Shame on you.
Evening, board members and parents that are here. My name is Angelica Gonzalez. I have 4 children that attend Sanger Unified Schools. I just wanted to share something with you that maybe you're not aware of. There's an article in the San Francisco Standard that doctors wrote a letter to Governor Newsom on easing back on the restrictions that our school district is following. I'm just going to read a little snippet of it. It says, restrictive policies have long lost their justification as necessary for prevention of serious illness and death. The letter focuses on negative effects the state's policies, which you guys are following, have on children and teens, particularly the mental health and developmental impacts caused by social isolation and masking. You claim that you work very hard to keep in mind the children's safety, your staff safety. Why are these mandates still in place? Why are you choosing to still continue to follow them when doctors themselves are repeatedly, this isn't the first time, they are even suing Governor Newsom because of these mandates. They're restrictive, they have no effectiveness as to stopping this virus. Everybody's gonna get it. We've had 2 years already. What have we learned? To wear a mask? And I can guarantee you, none of you probably wear a mask for 6 hours a day. I'm sure you guys don't. And our kids are being asked to wear their mask 6 hours a day at school. Ridiculous. It's affecting them mentally, it's affecting them socially. And we have more available options the vaccination. Whoever wants to get the vaccine can get it, which I'm sure a majority of the employees at St. Unified have the vaccine. And the N95 masks provide a one-way protection. It protects the wearer. Everybody should be able to choose to wear that mask. It should be optional and it shouldn't be forced. And I'm asking you, I'm imploring you and pleading with you as a parent to please speak up on our behalf. If you care about this community, I'm a part of this community. The voices are coming forth and we are asking you to speak up. If not, be the example to be the change, to ask the questions. We're asking you questions and it doesn't seem that we get the answers that we want or need. Please voice the questions for us to whoever they need to be voiced to. But I'm just tired of the mandates, and I'm hoping that you guys do not engage with the vaccine mandate because, as somebody said before, it's going to have a drastic effect on our school district with students and staff. Thank you for your time.
I'm a mom, and I also work at a school. I work in the summer when we have the 8 students and 6 feet apart. I think that was working better than what's working right now because my way is like when I'm looking at the kids playing, they don't wear their masks, they're hugging each other, and if you ask me, I think it's like flaring up again because we're not doing what we were doing at the beginning, and I see that, but it's flaring up because they don't put on their mask. And another thing is like, you need to change back of when they go into class to sanitize, when they get out to sanitize, when they come in to sanitize, you know. I think the first time for when all this happened that we had 8 students, I think it was working better than what's working right now. I think we should go back to that. And I've seen in the office too that we ask parents to please wear their mask because it actually is supposed to come from the house. It's happening, you know, this disease is here, but you have to help out. And I believe it because I lost 11 people in my family. They didn't have the shot, they were too far to get it. And now the rest of my family, we are all ready to go and everything, and we have not gotten sick yet. So I do believe in that because I'm one of them. And I think you should go back to where we started with 8 kids, 6 feet apart, because that actually helped. Now, if you go back to the records of right now, there's a lot of flare-ups, and maybe that's why. So I think we should maybe change what we're doing, you know what I mean? So that way it will work for the parents and for us. So I think we should do it again like that. That's my opinion. And I see it because I work there. And I worked when we, like I said, 8 students, and now I'm working with the school with everybody coming, and I've been looking at what's going on, and I've just been looking, and I think that's what's going on, in my opinion.